Today, we are now very excited and very eager to learn about the topic. So I'm going to introduce to you the speaker for today. Our speaker for today to talk about making the constructive alignment and redesigning the core syllabus. I would like to introduce the chairperson of the Department of University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, CDO's Electrical Engineering Department. He is a certified CDIO, which means conceive, design, innovate, and operate. CDIO, which means an innovative educational framework for producing the next generation of engineers. He is a master trainer, trained at Singapore since 2014. Included in his CDIO training is Advancing CDIO, which was funded by Temasek Foundation. He earned his undergraduate and master's degree at USTSP, formerly known as MUST, where he graduated Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering program and Master in Engineering program, major in Electrical Engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present to you our speaker for the second day webinar, Engineer Rojien V. Morcilla.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to everybody? Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Rose. Thank you for that very great introduction for this webinar. No, and thank you also, Chad Region Office 10 for this opportunity to share with you regarding this constructive alignment on our outcomes in the POs until the COs. No, so it's very important, especially we are now dealing with this pandemic, and I'm sure that everybody is not aware of this, and we are not actually prepared for this before, because we are not expecting this one. And but we are so thankful that I'm so thankful also that we are here now, face to face, even not face to face in the actual, but in this virtual environment. No? And we have to thank this technology. Because of this technology, we are still linked to each other. We are still sharing learnings. We shall learn from each other because of this technology. And we also will be so very thankful because every day we wake up and we see that we are healthy, we are capable, and it's an opportunity again to serve. No? As an educator in the higher education institution, uh, it's another day of opportunity to serve our countrymen in the country, to serve the people, and to help the economy of the Philippines also. Okay, so and we see that this pandemic gives us we might see that this pandemic give us problem, give us this, it's like a calamity to us. However, if we dig into it, we can see opportunities in it. And now having this webinar series, having this with us, we see that this is another opportunity of learning as educators. This is another opportunity to us to improve in our craft, to improve if on our learnings, right, on our delivery with respect to this new normal that we have now. So we have to live with this. We have to embrace this new normal as we go through this pandemic, and ensure as one we can survive this. We can go through this whole process. Okay, so I will be sharing to you as part of our topic today. So what we are going to discuss is this making constructive alignment by revisiting the curriculum map, POs, the courses, and the COs and the learning outcomes. So basically, everybody has already done their curriculum review, and we have already our curriculum. So what is important now, that even in this pandemic time, no, even in this pandemic time, we need to continue as educators. No, as they said that quality education and learning must not must continue. It must stop. It must not. It must not stop. No, us being a in the higher uh, education institution, it's important that we deliver quality, especially uh, as defined by CHED. No? It defined that quality is an alignment and consistency of learning environment with institutions' vision, mission, and goals demonstrated by exceptional learning and service outcomes and the development of the culture of quality. So meaning as a higher education institution, it's it's our duty to provide quality education. And now even in this time of pandemic, learning and quality education must not stop with this. And to deliver this quality education, as we have known, uh, we use the outcomes-based education, the OBE. This is the framework that we use in order for us to deliver this quality. And this is for the 21st century generation. No? We are not uh, providing this quality education for this generation, but rather for the future, for the students, for the future of our community, for the future work of our student. So going through the OBE, just define in a nutshell that OBE implies the best way to learn is to first determine what's need to be achieved. So once the desired result or exit outcomes have been determined, the strategies, process, techniques, and means are put in place to achieve the predetermined goals. So the essence is working backward with students as a center of learning. So what is important here is we see the need of the student. We work backward based on the need of the student. And in today's time of pandemic, in today's new normal, it is important for us to innovate. It is important for us to innovate our delivery, how we redesign our syllabus, no, how we align especially to our outcomes that we want our student to become. No? So as I said, learning must not stop, but we need to innovate, no? Because as what in OBE, we try to focus on the student. That student must learn these things, and in order for that to happen, as educators, we need to adopt and innovate in this new normal. Okay? Now, the question maybe in our mind is that what needs to be aligned, especially when it comes to our syllabus, especially with our content, especially as we prepare for this first semester. And how do I realign? No? And what needs to be redesigned in the syllabus? So this might be the question that comes into our mind as we prepare. No? So in this webinar, we will try to answer this question and provide you some important things, a checklist on what are the focus that we need to consider in redesigning our syllabus, and still, no, is still thinking, we're still considering the alignment of what we're designing to our outcomes, especially to the program that we have. Okay, so the flow of presentation is that we will be discussing about the OBE framework, no? And we will be discussing about the mapping and constructive alignment, especially when it comes to the program outcomes, the course outcomes, and we discuss something on some pitfalls in writing the COs, because COs is very important, no? Especially it's a guide to us in preparing our syllabus. And constructive alignment of the COs to your TLAs, your teaching and learning activities, and your assessment. So we're discussing how do we align these things. Why is it important to align this COs, TLAs, and assessment, especially today? No, what needs to be changed? What needs to be innovated? So lastly, then we will be redesigning the core syllabus. Okay, so this is the OBE framework. Uh, the OBE framework based on the CHED Handbook on Topology, OBE and ISA. No? As you can see in the framework that we have, It's basically that the course outcomes that we have in our syllabus is basically aligned to the program itself. Now, as you can see, there's an arrow that connects between your course outcomes, no, to your program outcomes, and to your institution and to your vision, mission, and goals with your university. And this course outcomes in this framework is now the basis in our assessment and evaluation and to your learning environment. So this is the idea of the OBE. No, and considering this time of pandemic, no, we might see that we will have the same course outcome. However, there's something to be done with respect to your assessment as well as to your learning environment, because the environment before, no, and the environment today is not the same as before. No, so there is something that we need to innovate, to change, in order for us to adapt in this new normal, including our assessment for our students. No? So as you can see here, it's clearly specified the alignment of your course outcomes to your program and to your institution. No? So it's clearly aligned. Also with the other HEIs, we have this framework. No? So you can also see the alignment between your course outcomes to your student outcomes or the program outcomes, the PEOs, the program educational objective, and their mission and vision. This, no? So, and this course outcomes again is the basis of the planning to your learning environment and to your course assessment. No? So there's always an alignment, and we should not forget that one, especially as we redesign our syllabus, as we redesign our content. No? So we should not forget that we are aligning to something. We are aligning to the program. No? So in USTP, we have this OBE framework that we have in the university. The same, we have this alignment from your institution to your PEOs until to your program until to your course, which is now the basis to your outcomes-based teaching and learning environment. So it's always the case that in the framework, there should always be alignment. And again, as we redesign this syllabus that we have today, no, as we prepare, especially in this time of pandemic, we should not forget that we are aligning to the outcome of the program. We are aligning to your institution. Okay? So the framework then specify that there should be an alignment of the course outcomes to the program outcomes and to the program educational objectives, which is aligned also to your institutional vision and mission. It's clear in each framework. And in this approach, this program's outcomes will identify the courses. So this is now the basis in identification of the courses. And this course outcomes, no, determines the content and the outcomes-based teaching and learning and your assessment tools. So basically, your course outcomes based on your program outcomes, which now the basis of your program outcomes, the basis for your course, and the course outcomes is basis for your learning environment. And we as educators in the higher education institution is in control of this level, the level in the course outcomes, where we are the one who is designing the content, we are designing the outcomes-based in teaching and learning environment, and your assessment tools. We are the one designing these things. And it's important in this time of new normal, the design of this content, the design of this inner syllabus. So this course outcomes then determines the topics and the concepts that included in our learning materials. So as we prepare, we are preparing for these learning materials for the first semester. No, this is anchored to your course outcomes. No, and one important thing there in our redesigning is we try to see the topics that is important, that is aligned to your course outcome. Maybe as we designed before our syllabus, contents there might be so many that it might be that we may encounter that medyo marami na yung topic, no? There would be more topic, and in this maybe in this redesigning our syllabus, we can consider, only those essential topics that is aligned to your course outcomes, which can be included in our learning materials. So, so in the program, it should be clear that there must be an alignment, no, between your program outcomes, a program educational objective, to the program outcomes, to your course outcomes, and to your intended learning outcomes. So each one of this we will define, no? We will define based on this. So dapat po naka-align silang lahat, no? And us in the as a professor teaching in the HEIs, this level in the course outcomes and the ILOs, this one is in our control. Ito po yung may control because the program outcomes is already crafted in the program itself in the curricular PEOs. So, as defined, the program educational objectives or the PEOs, these are what the program participants will acquire in the future. This would be in the 3 to 5 years after graduation, and also as defined based on the CMO 37 of 2012. These are broad statements that describes the career and professional accomplishment that the program is preparing to achieve within 3 to 5 years after graduation. So basically, it's the one that the program sees of its graduates. Now, this is what will happen to my graduates in the future. Now, it's in creating our curriculum, we are very focused to this, as we create this program education objective, which again is aligned to your program outcomes, because the program outcomes is the skills and attributes of the students after finishing the program. So meaning when they finish the program, this is their attributes, no? This is their skills that we prepare them to have in order for them to become, as we set in our program education objectives in the future. So we specify what the students are expected to know and able to do by the time of graduation, as defined in CMO 37 of 2012. So as we craft our POs, we have these different inputs that we have. We use specifically the PSG from CHED, for the program which has a PSG. And others for engineering, we use the Washington Accord, Sydney Accord for technology, Seoul Accord for IT, CDIO skill set. You can use them one, especially for engineering. The 21st century skills, even institution mission and vision. We have also institutional graduate attributes, the industry 4.0, the Philippine qualification framework, and the most important thing, the needed skills from the industry experts. Maybe we invited our some industry expert that might share to us the skills that they need in the future. So, and it was also stated, in the handbook of CHED topology and OBE and ISA, that while this CHED PSGs may be used as guide, an HEI may incorporate program outcomes that are unique in context of their horizontal type, as well as its vision and mission. So each one of us also have its own institutional program outcomes. That's why there's an outcome that is unique to the program. No? So that's why each programs that we have in our institution, in our university, have its own program outcomes before it was being offered. And as in the USTP, we have these POs for our BS in electrical engineering. No? So we have A to N program outcomes, which also based on those inputs coming from those cited inputs. No? So we map it, we 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 map connection of everything, especially for the CHED PSGs or the Washington Accord. So we map it all and we have crafted HPOs. So every program we have these POs, and it was already approved by our management. It was for the SUCs, it is approved by our board of regions before it was being given to your students, especially if or it was being advertised, or before the program is being offered in our curriculum. Okay, so now as we have our POs, what is important there is that we created our curriculum map. Now the mapping is important because this mapping ensures that the curriculum is very relevant. No? So that's why kanina pag-create natin ng PO, we also part of it is the mapping of these different inputs that we have, especially in this phase of rapid changing environment. And as defined by CHED, the curriculum map is a matrix relating to all courses. So we can see in this map how these courses in our curriculum are relating to our program outcomes. So meaning each courses offered in our curriculum is supporting to a particular outcome. And we should not forget that one, that especially as we teach something, no, especially if you are teaching that particular subject or a course that you have in your curriculum, we should be thinking of our curriculum map. We should be considering, especially as we redesign in today's pandemic or this new normal, maybe we could be so overwhelmed, no, with our as we redesign our syllabus. We should not forget that the subject that we are teaching is aligned or is supporting a particular program outcomes. And we can see it in our curriculum map. No? And this mapping ensures that the courses in the curriculum supports the attainment of the program outcomes. Okay po? So the mapping is important. It's a basis that we can see that what I am teaching, that the subject or the course that I am teaching is supporting to this outcome. And it's a guide for me on my delivery. It's a guide for me on my content. It's a guide for me to my teaching environment, and especially and also with your assessment. Okay, so now before we do the mapping, no, we have mapping legends. The mapping legends that we have is important for us to know what's the purpose of this subject. How does this helps the program outcomes? No, so we have several mapping legends. So one of the most common is this IED. This one is very popular in engineering and technology. We have I is introductory, so it's an introductory course on outcome. E is enabling, it's a course that strengthens the outcome, and D is demonstrative, a course that demonstrating an outcome. So we can see that in this three mapping legend, IED, the highest is demonstrative. That's where we look that this outcome is really being demonstrated by the student. And as professor, as the one teaching that particular subject, if that subject is marked as D in your curriculum map, no, you should consider that your environment, your teaching and learning environment, as well as your assessment, should be demonstrating that particular outcome. No? Okay. Other legends also is LOT. No? You have L is whether the subject facilitates learning of competency. O is whether the subject allows students to practice competency, as and P whether the subject or course is an opportunity for development. So, yun po yung hierarchy niya. The highest one is P, no? And others may also have IRA, no? I is introduce, R is reinforce, and A is assess. So this subject offers learning. If I po is learning for this particular intended outcome at an introductory level, so somewhat the same as the I in the IED. R is reinforced. The subject will build upon student existing knowledge, skills, attributes, and particular intended outcome to provide learning opportunities through student that can reinforce and or further develop the knowledge, skills, and attribute described in the outcome statement. So somewhat the same as the E. And the A is assessed. The highest in this legend is attainment of this outcome will be assessed in the subject. So it's somewhat the same as T, where the students are demonstrating. It's the part also that you will be assessing also uh, the outcome of that particular program outcome. No? So and it is very important because usually as we assess the whole program, especially for department chairs, we know this that if we're going to assess the attainment of that particular outcome in our program, we usually get data and see data on this higher legend, especially for D. In the engineering, if that subject is tagged as D, no, we usually see, we usually get data from that, and we try to see the indicators that we set in our program, whether it really is the student is demonstrating that outcome. It's somewhat culminating for that particular outcome. So as a result, we have the curriculum map in each program. Just like in electrical engineering that we have in our university, we have this map. So we map it with our professional courses. Ito po yung mapping niya. You have the course, the professional courses, and you have mapped it with your program outcomes, depending on its contribution, whether you see it as I, introductory, enabling, or demonstrative. And it's also that we have to consider that each of the outcomes should have at least one D. It should have at least one course that is demonstrating that particular outcome. That's part that we assess that particular outcome. You also map it with the allied. Oh, so we have the allied also map with it. Because again, as well as your non-technical courses, your gen ed. So because again, each subject in our curriculum is supporting a particular outcome in the program. And it's important that as professors teaching that particular course in a particular program, see this mapping. See that this course that I am teaching is really in line, aligned to this particular outcome. It's supporting this particular program outcome. So what's the importance of the curriculum map? This curriculum map should be known and understood by all faculty, especially for new and part-time faculty. So for new faculties, if we have new faculties in our institution, it's important that they will know or understood this mapping, because when we craft this curriculum map in each program, they were not there, and there's a possibility that they will not know that their course that they are teaching is really in line or aligned to this particular outcome. So it might be that there's this misalignment on the way. We cannot that the delivery that they will have might be, or the assessment that they have might be not aligned to this outcome. No, and for part-time faculty also, especially for part-time faculty which is coming from the industry, they might not know that this particular course that they're teaching is connected to this particular outcome. So it's important that it is understood and known by everybody teaching in that particular program. Another thing is that we might forget that the curriculum map of each program should be shared to Gen Ed and allied courses. Because again, this Gen Ed and allied courses in our program exist, and it is again aligned to that particular outcome. So this Gen Ed and allied courses professors or subject should know that their subject that they're teaching is aligned to this particular outcome in the program. And lastly po, the curriculum map is a guide for the faculty. It is the guide for us. It is the guide, especially in crafting our course outcomes po. Our course outcomes that we crafted as we prepare or redesign our syllabus, especially in this time of pandemic, this curriculum map is a guide to us that the subject that I'm teaching is aligned, is supporting this outcome. And how I write my course outcome, should be guided by this mapping, this course outcome that we have. So later on, we'll be discussing about the course outcome. Okay, so another in the program alignment from the program outcome is your course outcome. So these course outcome are again the skills of an attribute of students after finishing the course. This is refers to the knowledge, values, and skills that the learners are expected to demonstrate at the end of the course. This is stated in the CHED Handbook of Typology, OBE, and ISA. So as compared to the program outcomes, the difference between the two is that this course outcomes is in the course level. Before we call this, others might call this as learning outcomes. No, and this course outcome, no, is those are the skills and attributes after finishing that particular course. So in line to this is your intended learning outcome or the learning outcomes. As defined, these are specific to a lesson. Although it is sometimes used interchangeably with the course outcomes, but hierarchy learning outcomes are seen that these learning outcomes are building block towards your course outcomes. So meaning it is supporting to your course outcomes. Oh, so especially, and you can see that in your syllabus also, that you have these learning outcomes as an outcome for a particular topic. Especially when you have activities for a particular topic that you have in your syllabus, you should have a learning outcome, intended learning outcome. And again, this learning outcome is a building block towards your course outcomes, meaning it is supporting to your course outcome. It's somewhat like the same. That's why it said that it's used interchangeably. But we should remember that this is in line to a specific lesson. However, the course, these are after finishing the course. These are skills and attributes after finishing the course. So the difference between the two is that ILOs are for a specific lesson. Okay? So now, it is very important that we should understand the course outcomes, especially as we prepare, as we redesign our course syllabus today, as we redesign our delivery, as we redesign everything in our syllabus. No? So define natin ang course outcome. These are refers to the knowledge, values, and skills that the learners are expected to demonstrate at the end of the course. So it's clear, it should be at the end of the course. Okay, these are outcomes at the course level, and it should only be 3 to 5 per course. Why po 3 to 5 per course? Because if it would be too many, we should remember that the subject that we have, no, which is that we are teaching is supporting to a particular program outcome. You can see it in the mapping. So therefore, that is a guide to us in crafting our course outcome. And that course outcome should support that alignment po in the curriculum map. So if the possibility if we would have many course outcome, it might be that the written course outcome there might not be supporting to your program anymore. No? And also, it would be too masyadong maliit lang yung number, no? There's a possibility that again it would be short. Okay, it would be short for the to support that particular program outcomes. Okay, so must be coherent set that captures essential outcomes only. Those are only essential outcome, and there should be no redundancy. So yun po yung problema pag marami na pong outcome, there might be redundancy. And again, I think we already heard this one. It should be measurable. Outcomes should be measurable. The outcome should be measurable, and the outcome, since it is measurable, it can be assessed. And one important thing there is also that the level must be specified. No, the level in the sense that we know that we are teaching in the higher education institution. No, we should use higher level thinking skills as we craft our course outcomes book, especially for those subject which are tagged there as D, meaning demonstrative. So meaning po, we should consider that the written outcomes there is really in line to that D, to that demonstrative. So meaning the outcomes that we write there should be demonstrating that particular program outcomes. So the course outcomes must contribute to the attainment of your program outcomes. So meaning, in total, these course outcomes are non-negotiable skills. Those are only essential, okay, non-negotiable skills. Yun po lang ilagay natin doon sa course outcomes. Okay? So, aside from that, we have the ILO. Again, these are specific to a particular lesson, a building block towards your course outcomes. That's why it's usually expressed in terms of this cognitive, uh, psychomotor, and behavior or aptitude. So that's why it's written there always like that, because it's say, for example, if you have a lesson, a particular lesson, you have an activity, so the outcome of that is your intended learning outcome. So it usually linked to what student will be able to think, to feel, and to do for that particular activity in the particular environment that you provide for the student. Okay po. So also, to guide us in writing the course outcomes, important is the Bloom's taxonomy. As what I've said kanina, that in writing the course outcome, we should consider the level, especially we are in the higher education institution, especially for courses that are tagged as D or demonstrative or assessed yung po sa RA, no? Especially for subject which is a higher level. So you should consider this Bloom's taxonomy. And again, the course outcome should be SMART. Remember SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bounded. So as much as possible, you should use course outcomes that is in the higher thinking skill, which is where the lower level, as we can see in the Bloom's taxonomy, is remembering, understanding, understand. So the higher one, you have the application, analysis, evaluation, and creation. The higher one is the creation. So to guide us in writing the Bloom's taxonomy, we have this verb that we can use as we craft our course outcomes. Maybe as we redesign our course syllabus, we may use this different verbs no, that would be much in line or applicable to that particular outcome, to support the particular outcome of the subject or the course. So remember, as you know, remember is just a retrieval of knowledge from the long-term memory. So yun po, remembering lang po. It's just retrieval of knowledge. That's why the verbs there are just this one: define, describe, label, list, match, recall, recognize, state. These are some of those examples that we have. Another one is for understand. No? These are the verb there is construct. Construct meaning for institutional message, including oral, written, graphic communication. That's why the verb there are just one: this classify, this compare, illustrate, interfere, report, etc. Application, we have this apply, carry out the use of procedure in given situation. That's why the verb there is application, execute, change, prepare, solve, and use. So until you have the analysis, that's where tumataas na po yung higher yung thinking skills niya. It's breaking the material into constituent parts. So that's why the verb are analysis, contribute, debate, even examine, and even research. And the next one is evaluate. It's when the time the students are make to judge something. Okay, they make judgment based on the criteria and standards. That's why the verb there is to check, critique, and even judge. And the highest form is to create. We put elements together to form a coherent function or a of the whole reorganization. That's why the verb here is construct, create. So design. In engineering, we usually have the verb design, construct. These are uh, higher thinking skills in the verb. Okay. So this is just a guide book. You have a lot of verb that you can use based on its in its level, its thinking skills. So here's a checklist in writing our course outcome. So again, one of the checklists is that this course outcomes is describing the students that will do differently a result of the course. Do differently. Why? Because the particular course outcomes that we have is supporting a certain program outcome. And it's different from other courses. Okay? Because as we craft, as we design our curriculum, no, yun pong subject na in-offer natin or courses na in-offer natin sa curriculum is not redundant to a particular subject. And therefore, a particular outcome of the subject should not be designed with the other subject. So it should be different from the other course. And describes only meaningful learning. Yun lang po important learnings. Meaningful. And it should be measurable and accessible. and it should represent high level of thinking. So consider that because we are in a higher education institution, we should consider high level of thinking rather than trivial tasks. Uh, we usually interchange this one. No? Some professors might put in course outcomes, but in the lower level and rather have it as a task. So later on, we will have an example for what are those pitfalls in writing the course outcomes. So we can see there that other professors there are writing course outcomes as a task, but rather than a higher level thinking skills or uh, attributes. So it's written in a plain language where student can understand. This is the most important thing. It should be written that the students can understand that particular outcome, especially today that we have our pandemic. We give this material to our students. No, it's the thing now that it's independent learning, and it's important that the student will understand it on their own. That this is what is the outcome of this particular course that we have. So it's important that it is understandable by your student. Okay. So some other checklist is should be manageable in number. Okay, na it's 3 to 5 only. It should be balanced based on practical and theoretical understanding. Okay, there's a balance between the two of practical and theoretical when you write your course outcome. And again, there should no overlapping. Do not overlap. Might be that when you write it, that one course outcomes one might be overlapping with two. So that's why we should be write it carefully that there's no overlapping. And describes all the significant and essential learnings in the course. So those only significant and essential learning, yun po lang yung ilagay natin. Okay? Maybe because we should remember that this course outcome is aligned to your program. Okay? And uh, this subject is aligned to your program and is supporting to a particular outcome. So meaning when we write our course outcome, it should only be those essential that will support to your program outcomes. Okay, so these are some samples of course outcomes na okay, no? Na measurable, na smart siya, at higher thinking skills. Example, explain the importance of design review, clear written, design and analyze test plan for use in program testing, diagnose and repair heating and air conditioning system, including automated systems, compare and contrast basic characteristics and response of a circuit elements such as resistors, inductors, capacitors, DC-driven, and sensitive excited circuits. So these are some samples that are clear. So these are, as you can see, it is written in such a way that is an output or an outcome. Okay, it's an outcome, no, to the course, not for a particular topic. Okay, so example of ILOs or intended learning outcomes or the learning outcomes is example like this. Identify electrical symbols used in electrical plants. So we have electrical engineering, a topic on electrical symbols. So it's anchored to a particular topic. Discuss and explain electricity consumers' rights and obligations. So we have a topic on electricity rights and obligation. Identify regulatory bodies so involved in the Philippine electric power industry. So we have a topic on regulation, power regulations, and this one is on topic on linear regression. So use simple linear regression to build empirical models to engineering data. So these are written that is anchored to a particular topic, to a particular lesson in your course. Okay, that's the difference between the two. So this is an example of alignment between your course outcome to your LOs or ILOs. Example this in the electrical engineering, we have a topic on basic laws. No? So the course outcome for a particular subject, let's say for electrical circuits, we have this apply the basic laws, theorems, and some elementary network topology to create actual circuits. Yun yung po yung whole course outcome niya. But for a particular topic in this course, we have this one for a topic on Ohm's law that is supporting to this particular course outcome. So the ILO for that is they are going to solve and analyze simple use circuit using Ohm's law. So such a way that the course outcome, no, or your ILO is supporting, it's as what I've said, it's a building block towards your course outcome. So there should be an alignment again between your ILOs and your course outcome. Okay, so you should remember this as we redesign, as we rewrite our syllabus, as we rewrite our course outcomes, as we redo our syllabus today. Okay, so there's a question. So, why course outcomes should be constructed well? No? Bakit po kailangan siya okay yung pagka-construct ng course outcome? It should be well written. Now, the course outcome should be clearly understood by the student. So that's it kanina, it should be clear, especially in today's situation where independent learning is really being pushed, no? by us. No? So the course outcome should be clearly understood by the student. That really, this is the outcome that we want for this subject. No, this is what you will learn at the end. This is what will you become at the end. So it should be clear because this is for the student. OBE states that it's student-centered. So what we create is for the student. So by providing clear and comprehensive learning outcomes, no, faculty begin to provide a transparent pathway for student success. That's stated by the University of Wisconsin in Madison. So this one provides transparency of the pathway for the student. So that they will see that this is our direction. This is our goal for this subject. This is our goal for this course. So they can see that this is what we are going to. So it should be clear and understood. It should be constructed well to provide transparency of the pathway. Okay, to provide the pathway for that particular goal. And the learning outcomes are the cornerstones of course design and assessment. Okay, because after we write our course outcomes, again, we create the teaching and learning environment and assessment. And if we will not write well our course outcomes, there would be, again, a problem in crafting our teaching and learning environment or learning opportunities as well as your assessment. So this is a cornerstone in your course design and your assessment, especially today, no, as we redesign our curriculum, as we redesign our syllabus, it's important that the course outcome should be written well. Okay, because redesigning man tayo ngayon. So, and this helps students focus on what is important, what is essential. This is stated by the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Okay, that's how important is the course outcome. It guides us. It connects us to the program. It guides us. It guides not only the professors, it also guides the student. No, it's a guide for the student's pathway to success. Okay, so here are some pitfalls on writing the course outcomes. Ano pa yung mga errors in writing the course outcomes? We in the Center of Innovative Teaching and Learning of USTP have conducted different trainings on in our system, in our different campuses. And these are some observations that we have as they write their course outcomes. So, and you might also see this in your own institution. So this might be helpful to us as we revisit, as we redesign our syllabus. So some pitfalls. Now I have write this hindi ko po na write yung whole course outcomes talaga so that hindi po siya hindi po siya matingnan ko anong particular na subject po. Okay po. So here are some pitfalls in writing the course outcomes. The first one is some course outcomes are written in teacher's perspective. Okay? We should remember that course outcomes should be written in student's perspective. Again, based on OBE, the course outcomes are OBE is student-centered. And when we write our course outcome, it should be on the perspective of the student. Example, this one, acquaint the students with the names and use of the parts of the blah, 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 the following. So, meaning this is perspective of the teacher that we are going to acquaint the students. So, okay, so this is wrongly written, no? Written in teacher perspective. Another, prepare prospective teachers to become blah blah blah. So written again in teacher perspective. Provide students with a strong foundation for understanding and relationship between and among blah blah blah. So again, we should remember that when we write the course outcome, it should be in the perspective of the student, that what they will become as they finish the course. Not po na ano pong idea or ano pong objective ni teacher. So it's somewhat that hindi pa siya naka-move on doon sa previous na teaching and learning natin before na not OBE pa. Okay? So hindi pa siya naka-move on doon. Na teacher-centered pa siya. So kumbaga pag tiningnan ko to is teacher-centered rather than it's a student-centered. Okay? So next is this one is too general and not measurable. Okay, again, outcomes should be measurable. It should be smart. Okay, so like this. View the ocean as a dynamic environment. How can you measure that one? That they are viewing the ocean as a dynamic environment. It's too general. It's not measurable. This one is interact effectively with parents and children with them. Okay, so how can you measure interactive effectively? It's not, again, measurable. Develop appreciation and interest in blank. Now, we should remember this in writing the course outcomes. Like this one, appreciation and interest. It's more on the feelings. It's more on, it's written in the perspective of the student. However, it's more on feelings. It's more on what the student will be able to feel. And when we say that one, or in emotions, no? So we should not write outcomes in emotions. So that's why this one is not measurable. How can you measure appreciation and interest? Okay, so another one is appreciate use of various blah blah blah. So again, it's emotion. Okay, this one is discover and further develop resources and capabilities to be used in their personal life by directing their professional decisions and actions or preparing them for life. So again, this is too general and it's not measurable. Again, course outcomes should be written as SMART, specific, okay, measurable, attainable, time-bound. Okay, so SMART po siya na pagka-written. So this is not measurable. This one is too many skills. Okay, masyado po siyang mahaba. Example kayo, like this number 1, design, calculate, and apply subnet mask and address to fulfill given requirements in IPv4 and IPv6 networks and build a simple Ethernet using router and switches. So imagine there is ilang verb po. You have design, calculate pa, at saka apply. Siguro we can just put there one verb. Example, when I can put there apply. Because when they apply, they are already designing it. They are already calculating on that process. So you can just one verb. And meron pa siyang hirit dito sa baba. Meron pa siyang build a simple. So dalawa na. Parang dalawang outcome ng a particular statement. So yun po. It's important that one particular outcome is written into only one skill. Yun na po. Whole package. Because it's an essential skill na po. Okay? Another one, ito po, masyadong mahaba because there is a lot of skills in just one statement. Okay? Example, understand and describe basic switching concept and operation of Cisco switches, enhanced switching, such as VPLN, etc., rapid speeding, etc. So too many skills in just one statement. Imagine your CO is written in this way. So it's not an outcome. Again, the course outcome should be those non-negotiable skills. Those are those essential skills based on the checklist that we have. Okay? Another one is this one. Ito po yung sinasabi ko kanina. That you should consider that the outcome should not be a task. It's not a task. Okay? This is not an outcome. Especially this one. This is a task. Number 1, mount an art exhibit or install a gallery walk demonstrating appreciation of blah, blah, blah. This is not in outcome because mounting an exhibit or installing a gallery walk is a task. So it's interchange na-interchange po natin, no? That rather than an outcome. So what should be written here? It is on the purpose. Why are you letting the student make an art exhibit? Ano pong outcome na tinitingnan natin for what skill? What competency are we looking at when they mount or install a gallery walk? Okay? Another one is conduct a seminar that deals with blah blah blah. Conducting a seminar is an activity or is a task. It's part of your teaching and learning environment. But what you should put there is why are we let the student to create or to conduct a seminar? What skill are you measuring? What skill are you looking at? What competency are you looking at? Another one is independently participate in activities outside of class. So it's a task again. So what should be put there is again the competency. Those are only higher thinking, higher skills, higher thinking skills that we want the students to have or when they finish the course. So it might be that this is a task. No? So we rewrite this one. Maybe if we can notice this in our course syllabus, so we can rewrite this, no, to make it an outcome. No? But this again, an outcome is aligned to your program. Okay. So again, balikan po natin yung checklist. Course outcome should be different. The student will do different. Another one, it should be only meaningful learning. Another one, it should be measurable and accessible. Okay? It should represent high level of thinking. It is not a task. It's an outcome. And it should be written and the students can understand it. So it should be understood by the students, especially in today's pandemic where we just give the material to students, no? And we are prone to independent learning that we have, no? Even though we guide them as we along the way, but it should be written. All of the materials that we are creating should be understood clearly by the student. Baka po kasi si teacher yung naka-understood ng material niya na binigay. So it should be important that it's written on the student's perspective rather than the teacher's perspective. It should be manageable in number. It should be balanced, practical and theoretical. Do not overlap. And again, balikan natin, it should be significant and essential learning lang po for the course. Yun po yung lalagay natin sa course outcome. Okay. So this is actually what we have looked, especially maybe you have this also with respect to your syllabus. In USTP, we have this look as we map our course outcome with the program. Okay po. So we have course outcome 1, 2, 3. It is mapped on your program outcome, how it is connected. So each syllabus we have, and you might be also having your own like this, no? That your course outcome is mapped to that particular program. Because again, no, the course outcome is aligned to your program outcomes. Okay, so when we write the course outcome, it's a guide for us in writing the course outcome. So now the important thing there is we can see the alignment with this mapping. You can see that my course outcome is aligned to this program outcome. Now, what is the basis in this alignment? Again, the basis of this alignment is your curriculum map. Just like this example that we have. No? Example for electrical engineering, we have the subject or the course electrical circuits 1. So as you can see in the mapping here, electrical circuits 1 is tagged as E, enabling for A, B, okay, A and B is E, C and D is I, E is E, G is E also, and K and L is I. Okay, so I can cross-check it. No? Okay, you should cross-check it with your course outcomes in your syllabus. So meaning, in my syllabus, I should also see this mapping because you can see that this course outcome is supporting this mapping also. So meaning, when I say E, letter A here, I should see at least one E here because it's connected here. It should map there. And also with B, and also with D, should be I also, F, E also, okay, E. G should be at least have one E because of this mapping, and including K and L, it should also be I based on this mapping. Okay, so the problem you might encounter here is that there might be mismatching between your course outcome mapping, your curriculum mapping, and your course outcome mapping in your syllabus. So there should be, it could be a possibility. In USTP, we used IED also when we map the program outcomes, but other might have used another way of putting here the mapping. Okay po. The important thing here is that when you have your course outcome, it should be aligned with your curriculum map. Okay, align po siya. Now in our university, it's important, especially if your course is D, makikita po yan dito that your course outcome is really demonstrating that one. So example, if I have this, for example, that it is D and G, so therefore in my subject also in my syllabus, I can also see here D here because I'm measuring it based on this. So therefore, you can see that there is an alignment between your curriculum map and your mapping with your syllabus. Okay, so everything is aligned from your program to your curriculum, to your course outcome, to your syllabus. Okay, so you should remember that one. You should cross check it. Baka po kasi na-miss, no? Na hindi siya na-align. Another point also is a example is if your course outcome is okay na po, naka-align na siya doon sa program outcome based sa mapping, etc. And okay na siya. The next thing that we are designing, that we are in control is on the alignment between your assessment, okay po, and your teaching and learning activities. That's important thing here because as we have our new normal today, it might be that your assessment and your teaching and learning activities is not the same before. No, we are expert already with the normal before. No, imagine that subject that we are teaching. We're teaching it for 5 years already, even 10 years already. We are expert before. No, we're expert in this teaching environment that we provide for a student. Na ito po yung, this is the environment for this particular subject that the students will learn this particular outcome. But today, in this new normal, we are now again redesigning this because it might be that your activities and your assessment is not anymore applicable into this new normal. Okay? Because this one is important mo, yun po aligning ng tatlo. Your assessment as connected to your course outcome is this one is to promote learning, and your teaching and learning activities is the one that is reinforcing learning for assessment and facilitates learning to your course outcome. So these teaching and learning activities are those learning opportunities that you have, that you've created, this learning environment that you've created for your course, and this assessment is how the students demonstrate that they have reached that particular outcome. So dapat po may matching between these three, alignment between these three. Now, as defined in our CMO 37, Syllabus of 2012, that the outcomes-based teaching and learning, constructive alignment of intended learning outcomes, okay, with appropriate outcomes-based method and teaching and learning activities. So important po that your outcomes-based teaching and learning should have a constructive alignment. And this constructive alignment, as John Biggs said, starts with the notion that learning constructs his or her own learning through relevant learning activities. So we create the learning activities. And the teacher's job, okay? So yung pong student natin are expecting what is the learning activities that we are going to provide. So the teacher's job is to create this learning environment that supports the learning activities appropriate to achieve this desired learning outcome. So teaching and assessment methods are designed to best achieve those outcomes and to assess the standard at which they have been achieved. So the three should be aligned to each other. Okay, the question now, as professors or as educators in this today's new normal, is how do I design my teaching and learning activities? Even what teaching strategies will I use that would be fitted for this? No? And how do I assess in today's new normal? Yun po yung i-design natin. Yun po yung pag-iisipan natin po. Because it might be that our strategies before might not be applicable today. Okay, I'm not saying that it's all is not applicable. However, it might be that we need to innovate something in order for it to be applicable today. Okay, now, as what I've said, these activities, what we're doing in OBE is for the student. And in today's situation, it's important to empathize also with the students' perspective. So everything we create to design our activities, our strategies, including our assessment, should be anchored towards what is the state of my student. No? So part of it, what we have recommended is that first, before you design everything, understand first your student. Tingnan po natin yung estudyante natin. Example, one of the demographics that we have is common today is might be that we are going to go online. And if you're going to go online, we can see that we can have these demographics that which of my students gadgets and which have without gadgets, no? And which of have access to internet and which has no access to internet. And you might have these demographics that only 30% of your students have access to internet and gadgets, but the worst thing there is that 20% of your student does not have any access or even does not have any gadget after all. So meaning this is now a guide for you in your designing your environment. This is now a signal that I cannot do a synchronous lecture online. Okay? I should do a synchronous something, asynchronous. So I should design modules. I should design materials for my student that should not be always online. So because if we are going to have it online always, what will happen to this 20%? They will not have access to education. Okay, so as we know that in higher education, there should be always a equal access to everything, especially the students are there. They are expecting that they will learn from your class, and you should have the same access to this education. So the first thing that we will do in the alignment is to align first with the assessment. So if you have this course outcome, how will you assess? What assessment tools are we going to strategize? No? As the Houghton W 2004 Engineering Subjects Guide Learning, he stated here that if we tell students that we want them to achieve something based on our outcomes, and then assess them against assessment criteria that do not match, they will feel cheated and will become cynical strategic surface learners only. So meaning, if you're going to assess them that is not in line to your outcome, they will feel that they are cheated. Parang wala lang, because it's not matched, no? And that what will happen, they will not be serious with your subject. They will not only be just service learners. And another thing is, alignment is really simply a matter of honesty and fairness. This is the important thing here. It's a matter of honesty and fairness that establish the trust required for students to be confined that they can manage their own learning, especially today in this situation. It's important that there should be a trust between the professor and your student. That what we are really giving them as our assessment is really assessing to their outcomes. Not just we're just creating this assessment to them. So it's a matter of honesty as a professor, no? As a teacher. Honesty for our student that they are going to be assessed based on the outcome that they have. Okay? So here are sample assessment Okay, for COs and ILOs. Example, as I have in my subject, Circuits 1, example, if this is your CO, apply the basic laws, theorem, and some elementary network topology to create circuits. Before the pandemic, before normal, what I usually do in assessing them as an assessment for the whole course into this particular CO is I'll have this them a course project, and that project I assess them based on the written report, and we also have an exhibit of that particular project where they can present it, okay, outside of the class. Okay, now what is happening now, since we have this new normal, I cannot do this anymore. Written report na naka-hard copy na bigay sa akin or exhibit for the whole university, I cannot do this anymore. They will still have the same course project on their own because I think they can create their project even if they are in their homes. Okay, and the written report is only a soft copy. That what is important thing there is they should have a reflection. Okay, reflection of what they have learned on that particular activity or a particular project that we have. And what will happen to my exhibit? Since I cannot do the exhibit also, I will let them create an online blog, so which they can post on YouTube, so that everybody will have to see it. No, they'll have to see it, and uh, the more likes, the better. No, okay, and they can also give comments there based on the blog, video blog that they will be creating. For ILOs, to support the CO, yung kanina, to solve and analyze simple circuit using Ohm's law, before we can have classroom quiz, yung face-to-face na quiz. But now in the normal, I cannot do that. And I can have online quiz. But this online quiz are designed to be case-based. It's not the same case on the normal before that I have this quiz. Because there's a possibility po kasi na uh, they might cheat if I have do that one. I have to do that one. No? Especially po when we have those equations and po lahat na ibigay. So it's important that you have to innovate also your quiz. That the quiz should be case-based or should be a problem-based na quiz. Na students can really think on the quiz, not just only giving these equations and then they can have it. Because as today, this generation, due to the technology, if you will just give them equations to answer, what will happen? You just have to take a photo of it, then the cell phones can answer it. But if you give them situations, if you give them cases as a quiz, then they will have to answer it in their own. You have to think, and that's important here. You will have also a higher order thinking skills as they do that one. Okay, so after that, if you have created already the alignment between your outcomes and your assessment, the next thing to do is to align your activities, your learning environment, teaching, learning, and activities for your class. Now, as what John Biggs said, there are many ways of encouraging appropriate learning activities. The only thing here is that we need to innovate. Okay, maybe that before the pandemic we have this activity and may not be applicable today. So what is important here is we need to adopt and innovate. So sabi pa niya dito no, that forcing learning to take place outside. They can have learning outside of the class with interactive group work, peer teaching, independent learning, and work-based learning, of all of which are rich source of relevant learning activities. So today, we have these different choices. So you have to assess as professor, what could my students do? What could my students do even if they are still in their homes? What activities might I be able to give them in such a way they can learn this particular outcome and can also assess them based on the particular outcome. So it's up to us to innovate to particular activities, as long as it's always, we should remember the alignment between these activities to your assessment and to your outcome. Okay po. So, one example that I have is this. Before the new normal, if this same subject po, same course, they have this course outcome, apply the basic laws, theories, and internet topology to create actual circuits, and I assess them based on this final course project, written report, and exhibit. And to support those in creating this course project, I have flipped classroom implemented, where students are just presenting in front. Then I use flipped classroom. I also have lecture, corporate lecture. And since they are doing a project, they have collaborative learning, team learning that they have. They need to collaborate. Okay? Because we're now implementing OBE po, so they need to collaborate. So, and in today's new normal, how can I implement these three to support them again with this new normal assessment tools? So, I can still go with flipped classroom, but rather, I cannot have it in my face-to-face class, but I go to an online platform that I may choose to be applicable in my flipped classroom. Okay, so it may not be synchronous, it might be asynchronous flipped classroom po. And what will happen to my lecture? I can have online lecture na live, or I can have only a lecture in video. So I can video myself doing some lecture of this and send it to my students. Then the beauty there is that the students can view it anytime, anywhere. No? It's on their own phase of learning. And how do I collaborative learning, do the collaborative team-based learning? I will use, again, online platform. There are a lot of online platform today that you can use, and students can collaborate. Even in Facebook, they can have a chat there. And the important thing there is that you need also that they need to submit something to you so that you'll know that they are collaborating for that particular subject. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm not actually changing anything that big in my PLAs. But I just tweak it to make it applicable in today's situation. So hindi po siya doon ka difficult. However, you just tweak it that it would be applicable in today's situation. Okay po. So this is the example. So next is, we now go to the syllabus. So with all of that, I think it's clear. With all of that things, the alignment from your program outcome to your course outcome, until to your learning environment, to your assessment. No. So what is then to be redesigned in my course syllabus if I'm going to go to my syllabus? Okay. So this is the syllabus that we have in our universities, the sample of it. Okay, so sample course syllabus. So you have this course outcome. Okay, one thing that you should remember when you're redesigning your syllabus is this alignment with your COs to your POs. Okay po. Revisit po natin yung ating course outcomes, how it is being written. Maybe it might not be okay yung pagkasulat niya. That is not, and see it, how it is being aligned to your program. You should remember as we write our course outcome that it is aligned to a particular program outcome. And it is important that in crafting our course outcome, it should be aligned to this program. And another thing is this mapping. If you have this mapping in your program, in your syllabus, pakitingnan yung mapping. Baka po kasi there is misalignment with your curriculum map. Okay po? Baka po hindi siya na-align dun sa ating curriculum map. So, try to revisit this as you redesign your course syllabus. Another thing, in your outline, your content is how it looks. Po, ano pong dito sa outline natin, makikita yung course outcome. How this align to your ILOs for a particular topic po. Okay, then you can also see here those activities that you created, the assessment, and your grading criteria, and even you can put here remarks and your suggested readings. So you can see it here, the alignment between your course outcome and your ILO. Dapat clear po yun that your ILO is definitely supporting your COs. And one important thing here, especially today as we are redesigning our syllabus in line with this new normal, is that we only have content or topics that are essential. When I say essential, it should always be aligned to your course outcome. Yun po lang yung topic na essential that would be aligned to your course outcome. You should remember that one. So maybe po, before we have the new normal, madami po tayong topic dyan that might not be aligned to your course outcome, because we will revisit your course outcome, tingnan po natin. So might be that we have changed the course outcome. So we can see now what would be the topics or the essential content that is needed to attain this particular outcome. Another thing is that you revisit your TLAs, your teaching and learning activities. It might be that your activities that you put in your syllabus is not applicable, and even it's not aligned to your outcome. Okay po? So just like this one, maybe I put there an activity on a lecture, no? That I put there, no? I put it also some drills, no? These are activities that I put, but it might be that it is not applicable anymore in today's new normal. Another thing there is this assessment tasks or tools. It might be that your assessment is not anymore aligned, is not applicable, especially when you put their quizzes. I cannot do quizzes that is face-to-face now. I cannot put their seat work anymore because there's no face-to-face class anymore. Okay, so you might be changing something to adopt in this new normal. You have to innovate something to adapt in this new normal. Just like my example before Kim kanina. So this is the thing, no? Yung essential content, tingnan natin yung essential aligned to your outcome. TLAs in your assessment also, which is aligned to your outcome, and which is also considering the state in today's new normal. Okay? Another also that we might be looking when we redesign our syllabus is these materials. Maybe these materials may not be applicable anymore. Just like in USTP, we have these materials that we put, whiteboard, whiteboard marker, projectors, computers, and even laboratory materials that we had put there in our syllabus. It might not be applicable today. No? So you rewrite it in such a way that it would be applicable into this new normal. Okay? So what would be the focus on redesigning our syllabus? The first thing to do is to see the alignment between your COs to your POs, your course outcomes to your program outcomes. Okay po? It should be clear that your course is supporting to your particular program outcome, to a particular program outcome. And as we redesign our syllabus, we can see that alignment. As we write our course outcome, we can see that alignment to your program outcome. Another one, as we redesign our course outcome, which is an essential, okay, which is a guide in our content, no? Identification of essential content in line with the course outcome is important. So identify lang po natin yung kung ano yung mga essential content that is aligned to your course outcome. Okay? Yun yung essential, especially today na independent learning na yung just have blended or flexible learning that we have, no? Flexible learning. It's important that what we put there as content is really essential to the attainment of this particular outcome. So as we have this flexible learning, yun lang po yung essential lang talaga. Yung pong importanteng content lang po yung ilagay natin. Another one is the alignment of your teaching and learning activities to the attainment of your COs with consideration of the student state also. So again, it should be aligned. Your teaching and learning environment should be aligned to your COs. And consider also this new normal, especially to the state of your student. Okay? So consider nyo po, baka yung activities natin might not be any more applicable. So we can reconsider other means of activities that might be applicable for your student and today's new normal. And lastly, at alignment of your assessment tools or approaches in evaluating the student's performance in line with COs, PLAs, and your student state. So, ano po yung assessment na pwede na tools in today's situation? We cannot do face-to-face assessment. We can do online. No? What other means of assessment that we can give to the student? No? Because there are a lot of ways of assessment. I think part of the webinar series, they will be also discussing about assessment. And I think the speakers in that the next mga topics po on assessment might be discussing some other assessment strategies that you can use in this new normal, that we can have it in this new normal. So the important thing there, as professor, this is an opportunity rather than a calamity for education, for higher education. This is an opportunity. In this new normal situation, this is an opportunity to innovate. No, this is an opportunity to, this is a way to adopt on things. Okay po. So let's not dwell more on the problem, but dwell more on the opportunity. No? Let us be positive with this, that we can do this flexible, not positive on COVID, but positive on doing this, on flexible learning. Okay po. Let's us be positive that we can do this. We can redesign our syllabus, that we can be prepared in this new normal, upcoming new normal, on this new normal that we have, and we can do this. No, we can innovate, and these things, the syllabus is in our control as educators, as professors. No, so di na po masyadong malaki yung i-change natin, but you rather focus into these four things: alignment of POs and COs, essential outcome, essential content, PLA's alignment, and your assessment alignment to your COs. So these four things is important if you redesign your syllabus. Siguro, after this, no, as part of the activity that we have asynchronously doing, is that you are going to redesign now your syllabus based on this new normal, and these are the focus on it. So I think Ched has urged you to bring your syllabus and your curriculum map. So it's now time to see that, to revisit the curriculum map, try to see the alignment, bring in the syllabus, cross-check it, no? And redesign our syllabus based on these four focus in our syllabus. Okay po, yun lang po. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully, I have shared something to guide you as you redesign your syllabus today in preparation for this new normal that we have. Hopefully, I have shared something that inspired you, inspired us as a professor, no? That rather we see this as calamity, but we see this as an opportunity for everybody to innovate, no? Especially in higher education institution professors. So thank you very much, and good morning, everyone.